Welcome to the Mark Warsh Show, where we discuss trending news topics from a conservative perspective. Today we are talking about the leaked messages in Rhode Island, the lab leak theory, green initiatives, and lockdown tactics. It's a busy day. But first, let me ask you something. Do you ever feel like there is something sinister lurking beneath the surface of our society, something that we don't quite understand but know is there? I think the stories we are discussing today are a perfect reminder of this feeling. Nicole Solis's story in Rhode Island is one of sheer horror, a reminder that even in times of crisis, some will use their power to exploit the vulnerable. Congressman Jim Jordan's demands for answers from Dr. Fauci over the lab leak theory should also be taken seriously. It is our right to expect transparency and accountability from our government representatives. It is also concerning that Democrats are using green initiatives to fund themselves, and that fear and guilt tactics are being used to enforce compliance with public health measures. It's almost as if they want us to forget that we are ultimately in control of our own destinies and that we must take a stand against those who would take away our freedoms and our rights. Recently, news outlets reported a shocking story of an innocent mother from Rhode Island, Nicole Solis, who was allegedly targeted by a local teachers union for advocating for full-time in-person schooling during the COVID-19 pandemic. She has also fielded several records requests trying to expose the school's curriculum, which is being used to indoctrinate the children. According to Nicole, a private Zoom meeting was held by the union to discuss ways to harass and frame her. The union leaders were caught on video discussing how to provoke her into using racial slurs or becoming physically violent, as well as creating a fake Twitter account to make it look like the mother had made inflammatory comments. This reprehensible incident has stirred up outrage in Rhode Island, with many people calling for an investigation into the allegations. On social media, many users have expressed their support for Nicole and condemned the actions of the teachers union. The situation raises important questions about transparency and accountability in education, and the need for public access to information about curriculum and educational reforms. The story is a reminder of why we must never take our faith in the system for granted. It is a sad truth that the people in power are often not working for the best interests of the people and instead seek to serve their own interests. These Democrat operatives truly believe that your children belong to the state and should therefore be taught state-sponsored propaganda. It is our responsibility to be vigilant and protect those who are vulnerable to abuse and to make sure that justice is served. The incident highlights the need for us to remain united and to stand up for what is right. Recently, Ohio Republican Congressman Jim Jordan has been vocal about his skepticism regarding the origins of the COVID-19 virus and has been critical of the Biden administration's handling of the pandemic. He has repeatedly accused them of peddling false narratives about the virus and has demanded answers as to why Dr. Fauci has been so adamant in countering the lab leak theory. Records show that NIAID provided grants to EcoHealth Alliance, which funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan Institute of Virology, yet the Biden administration has failed to provide a reasonable explanation to the American people. The lab leak theory cannot be ruled out due to the lack of transparency and cooperation from the Chinese government, and many reputable scientists in the field of virology and infectious diseases have argued that their claims are based on scientific evidence and rational analysis, rather than political motivations or personal biases. But despite all this, the Biden administration continues to ignore the possibility of a lab leak, despite several agencies issuing reports that it is the leading theory. This incident serves as a reminder of the power of money and influence. It is concerning that the Biden administration appears to be more concerned with protecting their political interests of Democratic operatives than with providing the American people with the truth. We must never forget that the government is ultimately accountable to the people, and it is our responsibility to hold them to the highest standards of truth and integrity. Recently, it has been revealed that Democrats are using green initiatives to fund themselves using taxpayers' money. The green economy was worth $100.3 trillion in 2020 and is projected to increase to $10.3 trillion by 2050, and Democrats have been quick to align themselves with the movement in order to increase their own coffers. The web of connections and money that has been built up in the green economy has created a new class of elites who are deeply connected to the government and the Democratic Party and who have significant political influence. And your compliance is for the greater good. This incident shows how powerful elites can use their influence to push their own agendas and line their own pockets. We must be vigilant to protect ourselves from those who would seek to take advantage of us and our taxes. We must never forget that we are ultimately in control of our own destiny, and we must take a stand against those who would take away our freedoms and our rights. Recently, leaked messages have revealed that during the COVID pandemic, the British government attempted to use fear and guilt tactics to force mass compliance with the country's lockdown regime. This news has sparked debate and concern about the use of lockdowns, and some argue that the negative consequences of lockdowns, such as economic hardship and increased social isolation, outweigh their benefits. The use of fear and guilt as tactics to enforce compliance with public health measures is highly controversial and can have both positive and negative outcomes. It is also important to note that the leaked messages have not been independently verified, and it is unclear whether the tactics described in the messages were actually implemented by the UK government. This should serve as a reminder of the lengths to which some will go to obtain and maintain power. We must never forget that when it comes to our safety and our freedoms, we must remain ever vigilant and see through the propaganda. We must not let fear and guilt be used as tools to manipulate us, and instead work together to act responsibly and in our best interests. At the end of the day, it's important to remember that knowledge is power. We must never take our faith in the system for granted and always hold those in power accountable for their actions. I want to thank you for joining me today on the Mark Warsh Show. If you like this content, come join me on social media for more insightful conservative conversations about current events. Together, let's stand up for what is right.